Hi, I'm Steve. I'm the Digital Director at Spectrum Group. Our mission in life is to unlock the potential of your people, and we do that through three things: hardware, software, and expertise. Welcome to today's podcast. As usual, I'm with Neil and JV, and today we're talking about a subject close to our hearts, which is automation. We've touched on a few things. We touched on how the future of transformation is not necessarily replacing your ERP. It's how businesses are starting to introduce intelligence into automation, and we touch on how you can use automation to scale your business. As usual, please like, subscribe, and follow. And with all that said, welcome to Tomorrow's Workplace today. So today we're talking about our specialist subject, automation. I want to pick your guys' brains on what automation is going to do in terms of the future of industry over the next few years. All right. So I'll start with a bit of a buzz phrase: digital transformation. Mm-hmm. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's writing white papers on it. Where does that fit with automation, or where does automation fit with this digital transformation agenda that's currently going on? Who's going to go first?
I'm definitely letting Neil go first.
Over to you, Neil.
I guess if I look at the customers I'm helping currently, like you say, there's quite a few that are going through ERP upgrades and that type of thing. And I think when we talk about digital transformation, a lot of businesses, where do we start? That is a question. It's like, and again, what processes do we go after to try and digitize, to try and automate? What is digital transformation for that business? Again, if we're talking about a business that's been in existence for, say, 100 years or so, that might be completely different to someone that's been in existence for 10 years. Mm-hmm. So, again, thinking about my customer base, I have examples of both really, but if I look at a couple of the projects I'm working with at the moment, one of them have just been acquired by a massive, big building company. And I suppose acquisition brings an interesting sort of spin to it, because they all, depending on who the parent company is, they generally have different systems. So I'm speaking to different stakeholders, and because it's part of a group, they've brought in different leads, I guess, project leads. One of them specializes in digital transformation, but from a finance perspective. So again, makes a good fit for our sort of AP automation piece, but they're going through like a big ERP upgrade from like a green screen sort of AS400 type system that have worked in that building industry for donkey's years, 50, 60 years. And again, it's that old adage of if it broke, don't fix it scenario. So I can get it from an investor's point of view. If they're looking at it from a money-making exercise, well, we're making buttloads of money, buttloads of profit. The system seems to be working. It's not broken. But they've also got to have one eye on the future and sort of say, well, actually, this particular competitor is coming up fast. What are they doing? What systems do they have? So they've obviously recruited well, brought in certain people, and
so is that what digital transformation looks like for them? Then it's putting a new ERP system in, and what's the output of that? What are they going to get as a result of that?
I think you're right, and so great question. I think initially they've obviously flagged it as an issue, and again, I don't know the ins and outs of their strategic decision to upgrade, because ERPs are massive. It could be that it's end of life for that particular product. It could be there's a specific feature, like they might be doing more e-commerce sales and it only deals with bricks and mortar. And in that case, we have found that certain historical businesses, on the outside, from the customer's perspective, you think it's just one business, but inside operationally, they're more or less running two separate businesses. They've got the bricks and mortar and they've got the e-commerce, and the systems don't link. The warehouse systems don't seem to speak to each other. So again, someone could buy something online and all of a sudden not update the on-premise sort of bricks and mortar, and the warehousing's got a problem because it's like, hang on, I've got two orders. Which order do I fulfill? And things like that, and it does happen. It does. I've witnessed it recently with just garden furniture. My order was supposed to come, and again, somehow, even though I got emails to say it was assigned to me, they fulfilled someone else's order, and mine's now out of stock. I'm thinking, okay, but these are problems that these big companies are having now. I guess from a digital transformation piece, they seem to be the first things to look at, because it's like, okay, what systems have I currently got? Well, I've got an ERP, I've got maybe a warehouse management, I've maybe got a CRM. My customers seem to be looking at those initially, and then they take a slightly different tack by looking at, well, what are the paper processes that are just slowing everything down, and then trying to digitize and automate those as well. But we've kind of got a bit of, I suppose, we can bridge that gap by offering complementary softwares that can bolt onto a lot of these systems. So you'll see more and more talking about integration and APIs and this type of thing, where systems have to speak to each other. Whereas before, you had a human literally having to key in information from one system to another because they just didn't speak. And now technology, again, has advanced, but again, the price points come down, so it's more accessible for SMEs to actually implement bots and other technologies to actually, speed up the implementation. But I think I'll maybe throw it back to yourself from an ERP perspective. You've got quite a bit of experience of implementing upgrades and ERPs and bits and pieces. Just from your perspective, what's your thoughts on digital transformation in that?
Yeah, I think probably 10, 15, maybe even 20 years ago, putting a new ERP system in, or putting a ERP system in, was the digital transformation. But I think big projects like that are painful.
Yeah,
and I know from experience they're really painful. And if I'm honest, I'm not sure loads of businesses have got the value from that type of transformation that they thought they would.
Yeah,
I think now the argument for moving to the latest ERP is longevity of the business. I think it's making sure that you've got a backbone that is supported, and that if anything does happen, it's backed up and it's supported by a provider. I'm not sure putting a new ERP system in today's world is going to deliver the digital transformation that a lot of businesses are after. I think it's more about, how do we get a quicker return on investment? How do we transform quickly? How can we be more agile and test and learn? And that lends itself to different technology for me.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Because I think we'll come on to it down the line, but there's digital transformation, and then there's introducing intelligent automation. And I think digitizing things is a great first step, but introducing intelligence to that down the line is where people will really reap the rewards. But just on what you said there, for me, there's that interesting, and it's where we kind of fall, the position we fall in is that at the moment we're seeing a lot of ERP providers try to be one size fits all. We've got central ERP system, but we're going to bolt all these other things on to try and tie a client into them, rather than, and not necessarily be specialists at any of the peripherals, but more about the core. Whereas where we can add value and other providers can add value is actually being that specialist third party that can deliver value quicker, probably with maybe a better fitting solution. So you were saying, Neil, about people entering information from one system to the other, and then there's integrations. Well, actually, I'm experiencing there are some ERP providers out there that don't want a bar of a third party having any sort of interaction with their system. And obviously, one of the great things about what we're able to do using bots is we can overcome that, so that the client isn't stuck to one partner or one software. We can actually say, do you know what? No problems at all. We can put something in place that will deliver you much quicker benefit and efficiency, rather than maybe waiting for a new module to be created somewhere down the ERP provider's roadmap.
We see it in our home life, don't we, with the likes of Apple trying to kind of lock you into their ecosystem, and once you're in, it's difficult to get out. And I think it's the same with enterprise B2B, people like SAP, Oracle, Microsoft. They want to keep you in their product suite and make it difficult to plug other stuff in, which is fine until acquisition comes along, as you say, Neil. And then either you get acquired by, if you're SAP and you get acquired by an Oracle house, then what do you do? Or similar, if you buy somebody else, you've got the same problem. So businesses need to find a way of not getting themselves locked into those ecosystems, is my view.
And like you said, it's that speed to value in terms of, okay, so what are we actually trying to achieve? Are we just trying to upgrade them so they become in line with everybody else's system in the group? And are we actually going to add any more value? Are they going to or is it because again, I've a couple of my customers, I think a couple of them have been doing these projects for 3 years, 4 years, and it's gone on. And it's like, okay, have they ran to budget more often than not? They've gone over budget by quite considerable. And then, yeah, in terms of, okay, have we actually benefited from that? What's the outcome, or have we just stood still? Because again, most businesses know that you have to sell more to. You're either growing or you're dying type of thing. If you're just stagnant, through inflation and other things, you're going to go backwards. So how are we actually scaling? How are we growing? And the companies I like to work with quite often are the ones that are wanting to grow, and that speed to them is important. How do we implement something, get it up and running, and get that ROI as fast as possible? And again, if we can shorten that from years to months, or even weeks to a certain degree, and it doesn't have to be wholesale changes. It can just be a small iteration in a specific function that has a massive impact. And again, it starts that sort of chain reaction. And we talk about sort of our platform of just getting something in, getting it working, getting it used, because you've got that whole change management piece, getting the users up to speed of a new system, new environment. You've got to build trust. Again, we're implementing something into a human space, so we've got to build those sort of trust elements into it. Once they've built trust, it's quite interesting how quickly they say, oh, can it do this? Can it do that? Oh, I've thought about this use case. And all of a sudden we break it down and we build little chunks. And that's where, when you introduce the sort of agile methodology, it fit really nicely, because little and often generally works quite well.
I think on that, sorry, Steve, I think on that, completely, agree. Where you were saying, Steve, about, companies, are on an acquisition trail, and let's say the business is right, but the system's wrong. They're still going to buy the business, but they're going to set aside a fair old budget to say, right, actually, we want you onto our platform, the core platform. When in actual fact, you've got, and with that, there's going to be an awful lot of upheaval, 18, 24, 36 months, an awful lot of uncertainty with the staff, because they're going from something that they know inside out, back to front, to learning something completely new. But not just, as we often go in and help with, like, one particular area, be it finance, be it HR, operations, whatever. It's everything. The lock, stock, and two smoking barrels. Rather than actually, do you know what? You're operating fine on that system, but we want to be able to, get whatever we need from you to be able to integrate. Well, that's where we can help, and you can have a much smaller impact on a much probably smaller. You can have a much larger impact with, but less impact on the staff and the business and the budget. Yeah. By actually going, do you know what? Let's stay as we are, but we'll find a way of bringing what we need into that.
Because the risk with acquisitions, and I've seen it a few times, is big organisation acquires small, nimble, entrepreneurial organisation over the course of 12, 24 months, then folds that small, agile, entrepreneurial organisation into the big enterprise, and everything that they bought, they lose. They bring in bureaucracy, they slow things down, and ultimately, then what you paid X million pounds for has suddenly disappeared. Yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on.
And I've seen it the other way around, where again, some companies have just been left. Oh yeah, we've been acquired, but we've left to, just because we're profitable, we've been left to run as we continue that. And again, sometimes that can be disadvantage, just because, like, they get a little bit of false sense of security. Okay, yeah, we're all profitable, but if we actually still look at your processes, they're still very archaic and very slow, and you could be even more profitable. And I've seen that where the rest on the laurel, oh yeah, it's okay, we've been doing this for years. And luckily, I've seen a few local companies where they've employed a new person, or someone's come across from a group and just looked at it from a fresh pair of eyes and thought, actually, yeah, we've got the autonomy, so we've still got the agility to sort of put little bits and pieces in, and we don't necessarily have to have the upheaval. And that's where I find that sort of sweet spot between, you've got the backing of a big business, got the investment there, you've got the ambition to grow, and then you can also put the right people in place and get those sort of systems and processes in to deliver a really good, transformational piece. And then really, it's hard. Well, for the companies like ourselves, it's to do a really good job in those type of industries or businesses where we can then reverse into the bigger corporates and say, actually, look, we've done a really good job in this subsidiary. Give us a crack at these other subsidiaries that you've got, and I think it works really well. We do a good job. We deliver on what we promise, and then actually being able to go back and say, look, we delivered it on budget, on time. Here's the ROI that we estimated. Here's what you actually got. More often than not, it's more, and then quantifying that.
Because I think on that, a massive ERP upgrade or change. I bet when the scope was written 3 years ago, let's say it's to now, I bet the business has changed. I bet the requirements not only of the system but of the business has changed, and then it becomes a bit like the Eiffel Tower, where you start again, and you're just hemorrhaging money rather than being nimble. And
yeah, absolutely right. I mean, how long do people stay in a job nowadays? It's probably less than 3 years. So if the project lasts 3 years, then chances are the person that defined the requirements up front have probably moved on to a different job. So
yeah.
That's the regular occurrence. I mean, from your customer base, JV, are you seeing companies investing in those core systems, ERP, CRM? Are you seeing them investing in automation and RPA and that type of technology, or a bit of both, or what are you seeing?
Yeah, a bit of both. Fortunately, I would say, with a big smile, I'm seeing less ERP change, thankfully, and seeing more wanting to, we're happy with what we've got as a core. We want to start introducing digitization, intelligent automation, or automation and intelligent automation, using whatever means either we or other people can provide. So definitely, I'm having conversations around how can we speed up the process of any process, be it a sales order process, be it a purchase ledger process, be it an HR onboarding, all those sorts of things. It's very much around how can we get value quicker, not only just in delivering something, but in what we're able to, the data that we want more rich data so that we can make more insightful decisions so much quicker. That in such a volatile business world that we're working in and living in at the moment, actually having that power to make quick decisions but with confidence is putting a lot of businesses in a lot of good space. So actually, the sort of my two themes are: one, they value the staff they have because recruitment's really tough at the moment.
Yeah.
So actually they want to make it as enjoyable but as enriching as possible and scalable. Yeah,
I don't want to be recruiting.
No, and absolutely, and all right, that's my second point.
Sorry,
just give me a sec.
You took too long.
I'm not as bad as him. Give me a sec. No, but the other bit is absolutely, we value the staff that we've got. Finding people is difficult. So actually, if we can scale it, but not have to scale with the same ratio of headcount, then we're in a much better place. There we go. Do you want anything else to add?
No, that was a good point.
Thank you.
Well made as well.
Thank you.
So you've touched on intelligent automation as opposed to automation. I think I'm seeing a transition in our industry from automation towards intelligent automation. For listeners, watchers, viewers, what do we mean by that when we say things are moving towards intelligent automation? Neil?
Well, intelligent automation for me, it's an umbrella term that is a collective of all the technologies. So the AIs, the machine learning, the OCR, the ICR, all these different acronyms, ultimately for different technologies that's combined into one to try and, again, facilitate either a system or a group of systems to do what a human would normally do from like a very basic admin perspective. And again, use cases that we touch on a lot of finance automation, but if we took that end to end, like the whole purchase to pay piece, or even right through to the supply chain piece, where you can actually connect all the dots in terms of onboarding new suppliers, but working with purchasing to look at trends, to actually look at what are they buying now from which supplier, are they getting the correct price, can we look to the market, see what that's like, how does that work with warehousing capacity? Can we deliver the products more intelligently? As in, I mean, one of our customer that I've worked with in the past, they were looking over COVID. They were looking at the actual what the customer was buying in the shop, and that data was fed straight through to the actual supply chain, and they was able to manufacturer drop the products, and this was during COVID, so drop the products that weren't selling at all. So there's no point. I mean, historically, the ERP would just buy a certain grey paint at 6-month intervals type thing, whereas this was like, actually, yeah, stop manufacturing that. We need to mix this, and this paint, and we're selling X amount of quantity. So we need drop the lead times, fulfill what the customer wants. The sales went through the roof, and just having that data end to end, as opposed to having it sort of delays by adding human interaction into the piece. It delays or slows down the speed. But yeah, the intelligent piece of automation, if you think about automation as itself, it's been around for a long time. You even see it in movies. You mainly see it with eccentric sort of professors and sort of scientists trying to move things from A to B, and they have pulleys and systems. And I mean, I'm going back a while now. I even remember it in like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and things like that, where there's
Not
levers.
my time.
Oh, there's like what else is there's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and things like that, where they have these crazy eccentric professors trying to. But automation's everywhere.
Back to the Future.
Nearly Back to the Future.
Gone with the Wind.
There we go. Gone with the
Oh my god! I was unhappy with Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but
I was scraping there. But my point now is we've got automation everywhere. Like in our phones, there's probably more automation in our phones than we even use. I mean, I've got Alexa at home and things like this. So we've talked about in the past where we've probably got more automation in our cars, in our home life, and actually less in our business life. So how can we run these processes that we've said in the past that bots can help us either assisted or unassisted? I think there'll be more and more unassisted things working in the background that once we've configured it and once we've set it going, it'll just work to ultimately assist us. That's the whole point of it.
So I think we've touched on some interesting points around automation today. So we've touched upon kind of ERP systems, and are they the future of transformation, or are businesses going to turn to more, I guess, agile tools like RPA? We've touched on how businesses can scale using RPA, and we touched on how, I guess, intelligence is coming into automation. So not just automating repetitive tasks, but actually how to use AI to drive some of the thinking behind that. So thank you for your time today. A little bit of a bite-sized pod. So everyone, have a good day.